For over 60 years, the world has known this man, the strut, the voice, the legend. We've seen the endless energy and the defiance of time. He's the eternal Peter Pan of rock and roll, the man who built an empire on rebellion, who stared down convention and won. For 6 decades, he's been the soundtrack to our lives, the poster on our walls, the very definition of a superstar. We've consumed his music, his image, his controversies, believing we understood the man behind the myth. But what happens when the stage lights dim and the adoring crowds are gone? At 82, the cracks in the facade are starting to show, and Mick Jagger is finally admitting the one secret regret he's carried for a lifetime. For decades, we've only seen the swaggering rock god, but the truth is far more complex. The man who seemed to have it all is now, in the twilight of his life, questioning the very choices that made him a legend. What we all suspected, deep down, was that no one could live that life without paying a profound price. And now, he's finally admitting what that price was. Before the screaming fans and sold-out stadiums, before the name Jagger was synonymous with rebellion, there was just Michael Philip Jagger. He was a bright boy from Dartford, Kent, the son of a teacher who believed in structure, education, and a respectable future. Young Mick wasn't a troublemaker. He was a model student who sang in the church choir and diligently passed his exams. He was on a path that was the polar opposite of the one he would eventually blast for himself. His sharp mind got him into the prestigious London School of Economics, a place for serious futures.
He was there on a government grant, studying finance and accounting, with ambitions that drifted between journalism and politics. In a moment of strange foresight, he even compared being a politician to being a pop star. But beneath the surface
of the studious young man, another passion was simmering, a love for the raw, untamed sounds of American rhythm and blues. Artists like Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley spoke a language of freedom that his textbooks never could. This was the great conflict of his youth, the respectable, middle-class life his parents wanted for him versus the electrifying, uncertain world of music that was calling his name. The turning point, as it so often is in these stories, came from a chance encounter. On a train platform in Dartford, he ran into an old school friend, Keith Richards. They bonded over a shared obsession with the blues, and in that moment, a partnership was forged that would change music forever. They moved into a flat in Chelsea with another guitarist, Brian Jones, and the dream began to take shape. But for Mick, it was still a double life. While Jones and Richards were all in on starting a group, Jagger was still attending classes, still trying to walk the path his family expected. He was hedging his bets, torn between 2 completely different futures. Then came the moment of truth. The band, now called the Rolling Stones, was gaining traction with a raw, dangerous energy that set them apart. A record contract was on the table. It was time to choose. Mick chose the music, abandoning his studies at the London School of Economics for his father. This wasn't just a disappointment. It was a betrayal. He was throwing away a secure future for a foolish fantasy. Jagger would later recall how furious his father was, calling the decision totally stupid. Mick found the academic course he was on dull and boring, but for his family, it was a symbol of stability. This parental disapproval was a foundational wound, the first great act of rebellion in a life that would be defined by it. He recently admitted the choice was very, very difficult, and it set the stage for everything that followed. The incredible fame, the immense pressure, and the lifelong feeling of being an outsider, even at the center of the world's attention. With the London School of Economics in his rearview mirror, Mick Jagger plunged headfirst into the chaotic world of the 1960s music scene. The Rolling Stones were born in the gritty, blues-drenched clubs of London, a quintet of misfits hungry for something more. They started as a cover band, but their ambitious manager, Andrew Loog Oldham, gave them a new directive. Jagger and Richards had to start writing their own songs. It wasn't an immediate success. Their partnership was a slow burn, a fusion of Jagger's lyrical smarts and Richard's genius for a killer riff. An early effort, As Tears Go By, was actually given to a young singer named Marianne Faithfull, a sign of their still developing confidence. But soon, the dam broke. Songs like The Last Time and the earth-shattering I Can't Get No Satisfaction catapulted them from London favorites to global phenomena. Satisfaction wasn't just a song. It was an anthem for a generation, a primal scream that perfectly captured the restless spirit of the times. As the frontman, Jagger became the focal point. He wasn't just a singer, he was a spectacle. His stage presence was a mesmerizing, androgynous, and overtly sensual performance unlike anything mainstream music had ever seen. He moved with a liquid grace that was both aggressive and fluid, a complete command of the stage that became the band's trademark. But as their fame grew, so did their notoriety. They were deliberately marketed as the anti-Beatles. While the Fab Four were charming, the Stones were dangerous, surly, and rebellious. The press feasted on their exploits, their love lives, and their run-ins with the law. Jagger was cast as a countercultural figurehead, a symbol of everything the establishment feared: sex, drugs, and a rejection of the old ways. This image, while brilliant for business, came at a steep personal cost. The line between performance and reality began to blur. Was he the hedonistic rock god from the papers, or was that just a character? The pressure to live up to the myth was immense. The dream of being a musician had morphed into a relentless 24/7 performance. Inside the band, things were also shifting. Brian Jones, the band's founder, was a gifted multi-instrumentalist who shaped their early sound. But as the Jagger-Richards songwriting partnership took off, Jones's influence began to fade. He struggled to find his place, and tensions grew, fueled by ego, creative differences, and his spiraling drug use. Jagger later admitted his deep disappointment watching his friend fall apart, stating that Jones was no longer himself. The decision to remove him from the band he started was a brutal necessity that underscored the ruthless nature of the business. The machine had to keep moving, no matter the human cost. The death of Brian Jones in 1969, just weeks after his dismissal, cast a long, dark shadow. He was found motionless in his swimming pool, his death officially ruled a death by misadventure. It became one of rock's most enduring mysteries and a source of unspoken guilt for the band. Jagger has rarely spoken about it, but recent reflections reveal a sense of regret. "We were young," he admitted, "and didn't know how to handle it." It was a traumatic, defining moment. The dream had become a nightmare. If the stage was where Mick Jagger built his legend, his relationships were where the complexities of his character were laid bare. His love life became a public spectacle, a series of high-profile romances that were as much a part of the Stones saga as the music itself. It began in swinging London with Marianne Faithfull, an aristocratic beauty and pop star. They were the Idwar couple of the 1960s. Their 4-year relationship was a whirlwind of creativity and countercultural exploration. Faithfull was a muse, present for the writing of some of the Stones' most iconic songs. Jerry Hall, Jagger's later partner, would even maintain that Marianne was the one Mick loved most. But their romance was shattered by fame's pressures and a tragic miscarriage. That loss, coupled with infidelity and drug use, led to the relationship's collapse, leaving scars that would influence Jagger's approach to love for years. Next came Bianca Perez Mora Macias. Their meeting in 1970 was lightning, as she put it. If Marianne was the bohemian artist, Bianca was the epitome of jet-set glamour. Their wedding in Saint-Tropez was a media circus, but there were signs of trouble from the start. Jagger reportedly presented her with a prenuptial agreement on their wedding day, a business-like move that almost called the whole thing off. Bianca later said, "My marriage was over on the wedding day." Their relationship felt like its own performance, played out in the halls of Studio 54. The marriage produced their daughter Jade, but was defined by infidelity and emotional distance. ending in divorce in 1978. Jerry Hall, the statuesque Texan model, represented a different kind of partnership. Their relationship was his longest, spanning over 2 decades and producing 4 children. For a time, she seemed to be a grounding force, creating a family life he seemed to crave. They held a Hindu wedding ceremony in Bali in 1990, but a British court later declared it legally invalid during their split. Their relationship was a constant cycle of breakups and reconciliations, mostly fueled by Jagger's womanizing. Hall eventually had enough, stating that while he was a good father, he was a sick, addictive womanizer. Perhaps the most tragic chapter was his relationship with fashion designer Lorenz Scott, which began in 2001. They were together for 13 years in what seemed to be a mature, steady partnership. Her sudden death by suicide in 2014 left him utterly devastated. In a rare, raw public statement, he wrote, "I am still struggling to understand how my lover and best friend could end her life in this tragic way. I will never forget her." The loss was profound and shocking. The swaggering frontman was replaced by a grieving man, a brutal reminder that situation that had spiraled into a nightmare. Altamont became a permanent stain on their legacy, a reminder that the rebellious energy they cultivated could have deadly consequences. More recently, the band faced a different kind of loss. The death of drummer Charlie Watts in 2021 was a seismic blow. For nearly 60 years, Watts was the stoic, elegant heart of the Rolling Stones, the unwavering beat that held their chaos together. For Jagger, the loss was personal and profound. He spoke of missing him not just as a bandmate, but as a friend. "I miss Charlie because he had a great sense of humor," Jagger shared, recounting how they would hang out and go to football games. He admitted he still thinks about Watts constantly, especially when playing. His passing forced Jagger to confront mortality head-on. As he poignantly noted, "As you get older, a lot of your friends die. I don't have any friends older than me, only one." It's clear there's a heavy price for that kind of fame. If you're finding this story as fascinating as we are, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're going deeper into the gilded cage of his life, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Mick Jagger's life is a study in paradoxes, especially the clash between his extraordinary fame and his attempts to lead a somewhat normal life. He lives in a gilded cage of unimaginable wealth that also isolates him, presenting unique challenges when it comes to being a father, grandfather, and now great-grandfather. Despite his wild image, Jagger is known for a surprising level of personal discipline. This is, after all, the man who studied finance. Friends have often remarked on his careful attention to the band's business side, a trait that has secured their financial longevity. But this discipline is most visible in his legendary commitment to health and fitness. His father was a physical education teacher, and Jagger has carried that lesson throughout his life. His notoriously intense regimen reportedly includes a mix of cardio, swimming, weight training, Pilates, and even ballet. It's a survival mechanism, allowing him to deliver those high-energy, 2.5-hour performances. His diet is just as disciplined, focused on fresh fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins. This devotion to his physical well-being stands in stark contrast to the hedonistic image of his youth. Control over his body seems to be a way to manage the chaos of his life and defy the expectations of what an octogenarian rock star should be. This quest for structure extends to his role as patriarch of a sprawling, unconventional family. Jagger has 8 children with 5 different women. His kids range in age from their early 50s to his youngest, born when he was 73. In 2014, he became a great-grandfather. Despite the complexities, by many accounts, he's a dedicated and involved father. Jerry Hall, for all her criticism, praised him as a good dad who helped with homework. He tries to bring the family together for holidays, yet the nature of his life creates distance. His granddaughter, Assisi, revealed that she doesn't call him Grandpa. She calls him Mick. It's a small detail that speaks volumes about the difficulty of fitting a larger-than-life icon into a traditional family role. Now, at 82, an age when most of his peers are long gone, Mick Jagger is in a deeply reflective state. The swagger has softened, replaced by a thoughtful introspection. He's finally talking about the regrets that many suspected lay beneath the surface. This is the core of his late-life admission. The path that brought him unparalleled fame came with a hidden intellectual and emotional cost. In recent candid interviews, Jagger has expressed a profound ambivalence about looking back. "I'm afraid of doing that," he admitted. He fears deep reflection might lead to the crushing realization that it was all a bunch of shit. What a waste of time. It's a stunning admission from a man who has achieved so much. It reveals a deep-seated insecurity about the value of his life's work. He questions whether he truly used his gifts to their fullest. "I don't think rock and roll is as intellectually taxing as other things," he stated. "It's not particularly challenging, so you get intellectually lazy." This confirms what many have wondered about the brilliant LSE student who abandoned academia. Was there a part of him that always felt he'd taken the easy way out, sacrificing intellectual rigor for the thrill of performance? This sense of a road not taken is palpable. He's even said he'd like another shot at his career, to do something different. He's confronting the possibility that the persona of Mick Jagger may have consumed the potential of Michael Phillip. Jagger. This reflection goes back to the beginning, confirming how very, very difficult it was to choose music, a painful schism that has resonated throughout his life. He also expresses regret about the band's creative lulls, wishing he had cracked the whip sooner to record Hackney Diamonds, their first album of original material in 18 years. This is the great paradox of Mick Jagger at 82. He's a cultural icon, yet he's plagued by the quiet what-ifs that haunt so many. What we all suspected was that the relentless pursuit of satisfaction on stage could never fully silence the quieter questions within. And now, he's finally saying it out loud. He has reached the summit, looked out at the vast expanse of his life, and is brave enough to wonder if he climbed the right mountain. Just when you think these reflections signal a winding down, Mick Jagger does what he's always done: defy expectations. The 82-year-old who questions his legacy is the same man in the middle of a creative surge. He may be facing the final curtain, but he's not ready to take a bow. The most potent evidence is the 2023 album, Hackney Diamonds. It wasn't a nostalgic victory lap, but a vibrant, critically acclaimed work that proved the Stones could still sound as relevant and raw as ever. The album was a star-studded affair, featuring Lady Gaga, Elton John, Stevie Wonder, and even a playful contribution from their old rival, Paul McCartney. The process seemed to reignite a fire. Jagger described the recording as surprisingly easy, making him question why they had allowed too much angst in the past. That momentum hasn't stopped. The band is reportedly already deep into work on a follow-up album, with reports from the studio suggesting a new record is well underway. This artistic surge is mirrored in their live shows. While plans for a 2025 European tour were shelved, whispers of a massive European tour for 2026 are already circulating. Even in their new work, the past is ever present. Hackney Diamonds features drum tracks from the late Charlie Watts, and Jagger has revealed there are more unreleased tracks with him, ensuring Charlie's beat will remain the heart of the band. In a poignant move, the album also featured former bassist Bill Wyman, bringing the original rhythm section back together for one powerful statement. This is the ultimate Jagger paradox. He's a man looking back with a critical eye, questioning his choices, yet he's hurtling forward with the energy of a man half his age. He carries the ghosts of the past, but he refuses to be haunted by them. Instead, he seems to be using them as fuel. The Rolling Stone, it seems, has no intention of gathering any moss. So, who is Mick Jagger at 82? We started with the rock god, and end with a portrait that is infinitely more complex and compelling. The great admission isn't some dark secret. It's the profound reality that a life lived on the world's biggest stage is still a life, with all the regret, doubt, and longing that comes with it. We saw the confidence, but suspected the cost. We saw the endless parade of lovers, but suspected the loneliness. We saw the student of economics who built an empire, but suspected he sometimes wondered about the life he left behind. He has finally admitted the choice that made him a star was very, very difficult. He has confessed his fear of looking back, of finding his monumental achievements wanting. He is the sum of his contradictions, the disciplined hedonist, the family man who struggled with monogamy, the intellectual who chose a path he now fears was not particularly challenging. He is a survivor, carrying the ghosts of lost friends and a history that is both triumphant and tragic. And yet, he is still writing, still recording, still planning to strut onto the stage and command the attention of tens of thousands. How will he be remembered? He hopes for something simple, to be remembered as a member of a good rock band. It's a remarkably humble wish, but perhaps his true legacy lies in this final act of vulnerability. In showing us the cracks in the facade, Mick Jagger has become more than a legend. He has become a mirror, a reminder that even the most extraordinary existence is filled with ordinary human struggles. What do you think is Mick Jagger's greatest legacy? Is it the music, the performance, or this late-life honesty? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more stories that go beyond the headlines, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.